All right, so let's talk about the rule book and how it's organized. It's important to know that the rules are broken down into sections, broken down by orders, actions, events, terrain, and fortifications. So when you look at the cards, you'll notice that the cards have an order section, which can be used to order units on your turn, an action, which can be used to enhance an order or react to somebody else doing something. So those are the two most important parts of the card, except for the die roll. So there's the die roll down in here. When you do an attack, you're going to draw a card, and that basically has a dice built into it, and you'll use this to add to the attack value to see if you can break or destroy the other guy. The event portion is used for random events that are generated from the die rolls. So you'll notice here that it says the word jammed. This basically means the machine gun is jammed or a weapon is jammed and can't be used until it's repaired. Sometimes you'll see the word event, which means you draw another card and you'll see the event. So basically, I just wanted to tell you that orders and actions are the primary functions of the cards. Events and this random hex generator are due to things happening in the game, and this is how it controls what happens in the game, such as a dice roll producing an event, you draw a card, an event happens, or a sniper check happens, and then a random hex A2 has a sniper check against that hex. That's pretty much all you need to know about the cards themselves. But when you look at the rules themselves, you'll notice that letters, numbers found with brackets such as O16, that means order, will indicate to the reader an important reference to another rule. Rules preceded by an O are for orders, A for actions, E for events, T for terrain, and F for fortification. So going back to this card, it's orders, actions, events. Terrain is basically according to the map, and the die roll itself here. So at the very beginning here, you have a nice little summary of the orders and actions and how that's all sorted. On the very last page, you have a nice little index that will give you a more quick reference to find a specific type of rule. And again, you look at the type of rule that you're looking for here, and you'll see the O's and the A's in front of it to indicate which type of rule that it will be impacting. So generally speaking, there's leaders, there's squads, there's half squads, such as weapon teams and things like that. And then there's things like radios and things like that. But generally speaking, the morale is the defensive value of the unit. The name is just the name for the counter. The command is basically only on leaders, and it's used to indicate how far of a command he can reach and how much of a benefit he adds by being in hex with another unit. The firepower here is how much his firepower can add, plus a die roll from a card to add up to his total firepower. The range is how far he can shoot, and the movement is how far he can move. Now, when you move through certain types of terrain, this will be reduced. You don't always get to move 6, but if you're moving through trees or some sort of rocky terrain, it might be inhibited somewhat to cut that cost of movement. Sometimes a unit can be suppressed, and that can reduce. You'll notice a suppression marker will show you exactly where on the counter is activated. If a unit is broken, it's flipped over to its broken side. If it's hit twice, it's basically removed from the game and eliminated and moved to the eliminated track. Another nice thing to have is on Board Game Geek, there is in the Files section. Go to Board Game Geek, look for Combat Commander, go to Files, and then click on this Player Aid, which is the number 1 hit on the top there. And this will give you a great summary of how the game works. It's great to have this quick reference. You will definitely have to have the rules nearby for some of the advanced functions. But the main thing to remember is when you're playing Combat Commander, not to let the details get to you as far as figuring out the line of sight. Like when you're first playing, just play. Get the idea of how orders work. Get the idea of how actions work. Get the idea of how the units work and work together, and how a leader can carry a bunch of guys with him. How opportunity fire works, and like the more complicated you make it, the the harder it is going to be to learn this game. So keep the terrain simple when you choose a scenario. Keep the number of units limited to a few. You can even play a game without any leaders and just play it, ordering individual units and understanding how that works, and then start adding leaders to it for fun. And then you'll notice what the benefits of a leader are and how this command radius can really help you. If you look at the different types of terrain, you'll notice that there is a cost to move through this. So if a unit has 6 movement points, it'll cost them 2 to move through this type of terrain. If there are multiples of these in a row, he'll have to pay that cost 3 times. If a unit's in there and is shot at, it basically gives cover. So looking at the top right here, this is the morale of the unit, or the defensive value of a unit. If somebody's attacking him with the die roll, basically it'll be his morale plus his cover plus the die roll against the unit's firepower with their shooting at you and stuff. So this cover is important to know because it will help you protect yourself. Also helps in routes and things like that too. Line of sight is the ability to shoot a bullet from one side of the terrain to the other. So you cannot shoot through a building to see somebody. You can't see somebody. Same thing with trees, block line of sight. So the line of sight hindrance here is 3. So if you're shooting through brush, you will have to take a hindrance of 3 in order to get a good shot on somebody. So looking at the different types of factions, each faction has its own custom deck, which is designed to represent that army's specialties. Also, the ability of the Germans to be able to react a lot more quickly than the French are able to is like handled through the discard limit. So let's say you're playing the Germans and you have a hand of 6 cards. Each turn you can discard all of your cards and draw another 6 cards as your turn if you want. The French can only do that 1. So let's say they're the defender and they have 4 cards and they discard 1 card and draw 1 card. If they don't have any fire cards, or if they have a card that they need, they can only discard 1 card to try to get the card that they need. The Germans, on the other hand, can discard all of their cards and keep pushing to get like 6 cards. It's going to increase your odds of having a fire card. The disadvantage to discarding 6 cards over discarding 1 is that it will make your time happen faster. So time is how turns are triggered in the game. Each turn, the players will go back and forth activating and using cards and things like that. But there's only 2 things that really trigger a time marker. Time is triggered by a dice roll of 12 on an attack or defense, or by your cards running out. So when you discard all of your cards to get the card that you want, you are pushing your time to advance faster, which as the attacker can be not good for you. Just keep that in the back of your head for right now because it's an important part of the game. Not required to know at this point. All right, we're almost getting to the end of this video. This is just an intro to how to start the game and look at the rules and understand how to use the rules and the player aid and things like that. But this is a sample scenario. And on here, you're going to see the map number. So you'll look through your box and find map 58. This is the direction of certain types of attacks, or to tell you which direction units are coming from. On the left, you'll see which direction the Axis are coming from and the allies. Down here, we will see a list of all the units and unit types and the number of those that you get, and reinforcements and where they come on the time track. And the same thing for the French. You've got leaders, squads, equipment, which is weapons that are assigned to teams, or you can actually assign a weapon to a squad like this, different things like that. Next thing is the year marker. So the year marker is basically mainly used when you have reinforcements come into the game through a special type of event. What you'll do is you'll pull out the reinforcements card. You roll a dice and you look across the top of this and see what die number that you rolled on the card, and then cross-reference it to the year that you're playing in to see what type of support units that you can get. For example, if you're playing in 1940 and you rolled a 7, you're eligible for this unit. You're eligible for this unit. You are eligible for this unit. And that's all. So the rest of them, oh, actually this one here. So that's just a way to bring in reinforcements into the game that are indicative of the year that you're playing in. The victory point marker is a way to adjust the situation for one side or the other at the beginning of the game. So in this particular scenario, the Germans will start with 2 victory points on their side. As units are removed from the game or events happen or different types of effects, you can get victory points, and it will swing from 2 to 0 to the other side, or 2 to a positive side. Like it's a swinging pendulum of this side is winning or this side is winning. So this is how the adjustment is made for a particular side to help them have the advantage or disadvantage that's kind of in the scenario built in. The time marker usually starts at 0 and ends at 7 potentially. The end of the game, where the sudden death is not really the end, but it's a check. And you roll a dice to see if the game is ended. If you don't pass the check, let's say you roll higher than a 7, the next time the sudden death check will be on an 8. You'll do another sudden death check, and it's less and less likely that the game will continue on. But more than likely, some other victory condition will kick in first. This is just a way to potentially extending the game or ending the game right away at the end of the 7th time advance. Again, time advance happens through a 12 being rolled on an attack or defense, or running out of cards, and the time would advance from 0 to 1, and certain other things will happen there too. This is the posture of the scenario. So Axis are defending, Allies are attacking. The initiative, first player, goes to the Allies. The initiative card goes to the Allies, which is basically a card that lets you cancel anything. So if somebody does an attack, you say, you can't cancel events and things like that, but say somebody does an attack and it's a really good attack, you can hand them in the initiative card and give it to them and say, I don't want you to have that 12. I want you to re-roll that die. So you hand them the initiative card. Now they have that card and they can do the same thing to you, but it's a way to cancel major attacks in the game, and kind of changes you get a great roll and then the guy cancels it. That kind of stinks, but hey, it's just the game. It's a very random and chaotic game, but it's a lot of fun. Objective chips. So this is how points are generated in the game by taking objectives. So let's say the Germans are supposed to take objective 1, 2, and 3 and get 2 victory points for each one. As soon as they enter those victory points, those objectives, they get the victory points, and it's adjusted on this victory point track up here. This is what the different factions control at the beginning of the game. In this particular scenario, the Axis don't control any, and the Axis control all of them, and the Allies control none of them. This is how far deep that the Axis can set up. So the Axis can set up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 deep, and the same goes for the Allies in this scenario. And the first turn goes to the Allies. The initiative card is completely different from the first turn initiative, but it might be the same. Then, of course, down at the bottom here, you'll have the special rules. That is the general setup of the scenario and the intro to the rules. And then next, we're going to talk about the chits, leaders, squads, weapons, and weapon teams, and how that works.